Today I'll be sharing on how to secure an internship with a law firm in Singapore. You may be wondering, must you do an internship? Should you do an internship? Who is an internship for? I think you should do an internship if you have no connections. Why? Because as I've heard from my friends, most of the time during your interview for your training contract, employers like to ask this question, which is, why do you want to train at this law firm? And typically, I don't see how you have a good answer if you have not interned there before. But of course, if your parents who know lawyers who can offer you a training contract regardless of your abilities in school or regardless of your results, then sure, you may skip any law internships. Or unless you fall within this bo pian category, which is you have no choice, because I know for SMU law, in order to graduate, you need to fulfill your internship requirements. So in that case, you should just stop thinking and just apply, as I've written here. So assuming you don't fall within this category, you can consider whether to apply depending on the above points that I've already shared on no connections. Second one is if you're not sure whether law is for you, meaning you're not sure whether you actually want to be a lawyer and you're struggling in school, you realize that you don't really like what you study, or you also are not sure whether the law career is, or whether, more specifically, whether a career in a law firm is what you want. Not everybody who studies law needs to end up working in a law firm. There are people who end up going to work for the government as well. So if you are in the process of trying to figure out whether you want to go the government path or some other different path instead of a law firm, you may also want to try an internship. Third, if you're not sure of what law firm is for you, and there are three broad categories. First, a small firm, medium firm, and a large firm. That's what SML stands for. And small firms can be really small. It can be just a one member. Medium firm, maybe 15 to 20 people in a firm. Large firm a large firm typically has about a few hundred employees. Different types of law firms will have very different working styles, different culture, different working hours, different expectations as well. So if you are not sure of what kind of law firm you want to work at in future, you should do an internship just to look at the culture. Typically, I must say, in a small firm, you tend to have to be more independent, and you tend to have to do a variety of things because the different departments are not so specialized and not so segregated, unlike in a large law firm. Big law firms in Singapore, there's the big four, which is A&G, Napier, Wong P, and Rajan Tan. So in a large firm, there will be departments. Each department is specialized in doing only a particular area of law. For instance, if you're in M&A department, you'll be focused on doing M&A. If you are the tax department, you'll be focused on tax matters. So you won't be doing so much of variety, but rather you will develop expertise in mainly one area of law. Medium firm, I think it would just be something in between a small and large firm. But I have not interned at a medium firm and have not worked at a medium firm, so I won't elaborate on that. But as for which area of law, I think broadly speaking, you should recognize that there are two types: litigation and corporate. Litigation means you are going to represent your clients in court. Corporate lawyers, on the other hand, do not need to go to court, are not involved in the judicial system directly. Corporate lawyers mainly draft advice and draft transaction agreements, at least based on what I do. I'm not speaking for every department, but generally this is the broad categories of work that corporate lawyers do. What do I mean by drafting documents? For instance, if a company wishes to hire an employee, they will need an employment contract. And if you're a corporate lawyer, you are the one drafting the employment contract. Simple as that. For litigation, you prepare submissions to defend your client. And that's just broadly speaking the two main types of law. So most people would try to apply to at least one litigation department and one corporate department just to have a feel of what each department does and also a better understanding of where your passions lie. Yeah, so this was my point. You should try to go for small, medium and large if you are not sure what kind of law firm is for you. If you are not sure of what type of law you want to do, then just apply to different areas and try out the various areas. If you've got no connections, the most strategic thing to do is to leave a good impression. But caveat, I want to caveat this. It is difficult to leave a good impression. Why? Because unfortunately, based on my own law firm experience, my own internship experience, most lawyers have no time for their interns. And I can't exactly blame them because they are so busy. matters are ongoing and clients usually want answers fast. It is not like law school where you have maybe like 4 or 5 weeks to finish a research paper. When you are working, you literally have to churn out a research paper in maybe 1 or 2 days or 3 days. And this is because clients want to have your advice and act on your advice. And some matters are really urgent. For instance, if a client discovers that the product that they have been selling is defective, they will approach you and ask you, so what should I do now? Should I recall my product? Should I report it to any government agency? Should I tell the world? Should I tell my clients? Should I tell my customers? Should I tell my suppliers? And all these questions are urgent in that they need to act quickly, they need to act fast. And because they need to act fast, they also need to know the answers fast. So as an intern, it's a bit hard for you to reach that standard and for you to produce work in such a short time, considering how you will not have had experience in the area of law after just 2 years of study. So usually the partners do not have time for you. However, you can always pray and hope that you get a reasonably good mentor who is patient enough to teach you some tricks or to give you some tips for being a better lawyer during your internship. And definitely try to produce good work in your internship, because it matters. Like, there is really a distinction between an intern who produces bad work and an intern who produces good work. I have been in the position of trying to review interns' work, and I can tell just from one piece of work how much effort a person has put into the work, and also, their general aptitude for doing law. It is pretty obvious. Like, a bad work is very different from a piece of good work. So yes, nonetheless, try to leave a good impression, even if it is difficult too. And this I also speak from experience, because I applied for my training contract late, but I managed to secure a training contract because of my internship. Because my mentor, I somehow, by God's grace, managed to build a good rapport with my mentor, who also by God's grace happened to be a partner at the firm, who was also who intensely involved me during my internship. And yes, by God's grace, I managed to get a training contract, even though I applied late, with the help of my partner mentor. So how to secure an internship? First, you need to apply early. I can't emphasize how important this is. You cannot do all these applications last minute. Why? Because vacancies fill up really quickly. We all know that law firms have limited vacancies, especially if you're applying to a medium-sized or small-sized firm. Vacancies are even fewer. Big law firms also, the Big Four, I know from experience, review applications early. And it may not be that your grades are not good, but simply that they have already decided to fill in the vacancy, which would be a waste, especially if you are really a talent, right? So don't sabotage yourself by applying late. Just put in your application early or on time. Usually the law firms will announce when the application window opens, and just submit it right away. Prepare all the documents that you need beforehand, and when the window opens, just submit it. Especially for medium firms, I think you should submit them even earlier. So please just apply early. And another second pro tip is to put your grades up front in your resume, because unfortunately, in this law world, you are your grades. Not saying that outside this law world, you are your grades. Don't ever look at yourself in that way, and don't let your grades define you. But just saying, in the context of applying for a job or an internship at a law firm, your grades matter the most, and also your awards and your achievements. For instance, if you won the Dean's List or you won the top prize for certain subject modules, put them up front. Because I must say that lawyers as employers are very practical people. They just want to know that you are able to do the law. It does not matter so much what other things you can do. For instance, if you have this skill of rolling your tongue to a flower, I don't think it matters to them. Or you have this skill of planning 1,000 community service projects, I don't think it matters so much as well. So because your grades are so important, you have to choose your mods in your first 2 years wisely. In SMU, you have some flexibility in terms of the other mods that are not assigned to you. I'm not sure whether it's still the same now, but in my time, some mods were assigned and then some mods we get to choose. Some people do try to take mods that are non-law related so that they can score better. I mean, it's easier generally to score an A or A+ in a non-law module. So they try to do that to inflate their GPA. I'm not sure if it's really a good idea, but just make sure you do well in your law mods as well, because these grades will matter when you apply for internships. And if you want to go into certain specialist areas, you want to try certain specialist areas during your internship, for instance, you want to try tax or you want to try competition law, by year 2, generally, when you start applying for internships, you will not have taken such modules. If you can take them, you should take them and excel in them. But if you have not taken them, I would think it's a good idea to indicate that you are interested to do that in your cover letter, or somehow indicate it somewhere that you're interested to take these modules. And as I said earlier, non-academic achievements, to me the value add is about 0 to 5%. And you really get no score for being the most everywhere person in that, like, even if you are the chairperson of this CCA or like most valued player of some other CCA, it's not going to add much to your portfolio if your GPA is not fantastic. Yes, so the conclusion is to study well and make sure you get a decent grade to secure your internship. Now you may ask, what about character? Is it not important? I'm not saying it's not important, it is important. In fact, it's probably more important than your grades, but not in the context of applying for an internship. It is important for you as a person and your personal growth. So, yeah, don't forget to be a nice person. I mean, smart people are prevalent, pervasive, but kind people are not. And I think in the long run, it pays to be kind and average instead of smart and mean. Nobody likes to work with a smart person with bad character. Yep, so that's just my personal take on things. Yep. And okay, usually there's no interview for internships, as I said before. The partners do not have time to interview you. Except for certain law firms. I know in my time, Lee & Lee was one of the law firms that actually interviewed their shortlisted applicants. So yeah, but most of them, I didn't have to go through any interview. Another thing I would say is also to dare to dream big. If you are the sort of person who really wants to build a very successful career, try and apply for the big law firms or the international law firms, or yeah, if that's where you want to go, just give it a shot. And don't limit yourself on the basis of your GPA or your CAP. And on this point, I will share with you one story. I had a course mate whose GPA was only about 3.4 out of 4. Okay, some of you may consider that high, but it's basically the mean, the average. So about 50% of the cohort is scored less than 3.4, and about 50% scored higher than 3.4. So if you're at the average, you will not expect this course mate of mine to have gotten a training contract at a big law firm, right? Because the big law firm would probably only accept the top, perhaps 25% or even less. But he managed to get a training contract with a big law firm with a GPA of 3.4. So you will never know. And just put in your submission. It's better to just put it in than regret not putting it in. Yeah, and most importantly, just do not be disheartened by any rejection you face. I have been rejected as well, so. And if you are rejected, just treat it as their loss, or just accept the fact that this profession may not be your calling. And it's not a bad thing, because I think in my previous videos I mentioned that this profession requires a lot of sacrifice. And it's not always worth it to sacrifice for something that is not your calling, or that you're not passionate about, because it just does not pay, right? And sometimes the rejection is a good thing that leads you to a path that where you find greater meaning, greater fulfillment. This, I would say, is evident in me being rejected by NUS Law. I absolutely have no regrets whatsoever. And in fact, I'm thankful that I got rejected, because I really took a path that I felt was way better, way more convenient, and helped me and really challenged me, helped me grow, gave me a lot of opportunities that I would not have had I been accepted into NUS Law. And I feel that I would have turned out to be a very different type of lawyer, with very different type of skills, had I not gone down that path. So, honestly, don't take rejection too seriously. I believe that it all works out for good. And you will eventually be able to find the career that suits you, and that you will be happy with. I think it's really, I can't emphasize how important it is to do law only if you are truly, truly, truly passionate about it. Because if you are in it for the money is not here. If you are in it for the status, I don't know what status you get from being trapped behind your computer screen day in and day out. I think if you are in it for the status, you have to weigh the benefit of such status against the sacrifices that you have to make. When I ask most lawyers why they do law, I can tell that it's their passion that keeps them going. Yes, and that's all for today. See ya.